How's it going, everybody? And welcome to another episode of the Pursuing Greatness podcast. I'm your host, Gabe Peterson. This is the place where you can learn how to master your health, your wealth, and your love all in one place. So I hope you look forward to another great episode with another great guest. Before we get started, I do want to remind everybody that the best way to support the show is to simply subscribe, like, and share this episode with your friends. Also, if you want to get more involved with the show, check out our website at pursuinggreatnesspodcast.com. Other than that, I hope you guys enjoy. I hope you have your pen and paper ready to take some notes on some great wisdom coming your way. And I look forward to seeing you guys on the other side of the episode. All right, and we are live. Today we have with us Mary Krow. Mary grew up training jazz, pom, and cheerleading in Tulsa, Oklahoma, and began choreography at age 15. She then attended SMU in Dallas, and after college spent 2 years with the Dallas Cowboy cheerleaders, earning Rookie of the Year. Mary continued her career in dance by creating Perfect 8 Counts, an online choreography company that provides routines for hundreds of pom and dance teams across the globe. Mary, thank you very much for coming on the show today. How you doing?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely, absolutely. To get us started, why don't you tell everybody, who you are, what you do, and how you got started down that path in the first place?
Well, like you said, my name's Mary. I was probably really 4 years old. I have just been very passionate about working with teams, and that is why I started a choreography business. I have always loved choreography, but Perfect 8 Counts gives me an opportunity to provide a more accessible, affordable routine to teams all over if I can't be there in person, and the internet makes that all possible. So it has been quite the journey, learning and navigating this space, especially this year.
Yeah, no, I can imagine, especially I'm assuming cheer and dance teams are they're shuttered up, aren't they, at this point?
It is, it's depending on the school. The schools all kind of have their own different requirements. And for instance, the team I'm seeing this week, they are meeting for practice, but it is socially distanced and masks are required. So it will be an interesting learning experience for all of us, seeing how's the best way we can make this safe and learn as quickly as possible with masks and all the other things that need to go along with keeping ourselves safe and sanitized.
Yeah, absolutely. I love your story because you took something that you were super passionate about, dance and choreography, and then you created a business out of it. And a lot of people, listening and watching, they have something that they really like to do, but they're not quite sure how to translate that into, something that generates dollars. And so take us through the story. You grew up dancing, you were even on the Dallas Cowboys, but that doesn't make money. And then you took that and you made a business out of it. So how did you make that transition there?
Well, I always saw myself going in a different direction. I majored in psychology in college, and there was a part of me that thought I would continue on to grad school, get my master's, and work as a licensed therapist. But when I was about, it was right after college, and I took some time and really evaluated what was going to bring me the most joy. And I was applying to jobs, and really nothing was really sticking. And I went to my parents and I asked them if they would kind of approve of me starting this business. And they supported that decision at the time. And I knew it was going to be a long process of really turning something that was just a passion into a business that could provide a life for me. So I, had other jobs along the way. I tried to support myself by picking up little things here and there, by babysitting, and like a lot of girls do straight out of college. But I would say that to anyone who wants to turn a passion into a business, think about the long game, because if you aren't consistent from day to day, it will dwindle. It didn't happen for me right away. It's taken me really the past 6 years to see all of the hard work really pay off now. So it's a journey, and it's all about not quitting, waking up every single day, saying yes to, your top 3 most important tasks, getting them done early. Consistency was key for me.
I love that. I mean, consistency and not giving up, especially when you're creating a business, is the key.
Yeah.
Definitely. And it sounds like, so you had other jobs to support yourself while you were doing this, and it took 6 years. I mean, I want everybody to take
Right.
note of that. It's not something that happened overnight. Mary worked on this day in, day night, for 6 years before you finally started to see some real movement from it. Correct?
Yeah. Yes. It was, in the beginning, it was always providing something. And the online business is paired with in-person workshops. So I do visit teams and do custom choreography for them. So the combination of the two was good, that I had a handful of teams in my portfolio I knew I was going to be visiting every year. And that was kind of a business model for me. If I can cover my expenses for the online startup with my in-person work, then I will be at least in a good space that I don't feel like I'm dangerous, in a dangerous place to lose money. That was important to me.
Yep. Yeah, no, I think that's a really smart way to go about it. And so I kind of want to, I mean, you already touched on it, but I do want to dive a little bit further into that, into your business model, because you're right. Starting an online business, it can be iffy. It doesn't just come automatically unless you're just a whiz at marketing or something.
Yep.
So you kind of had two prongs. You had your in-person consultancy, and then your online. Kind of take us through the business model for your
Right.
business.
So whenever I was starting out, my biggest investment was my website. And I worked with a website design firm here in Dallas, and we just had several meetings. I talked about what I was wanting to do. And at the time, they had to write code for what I was trying to create. The business started out a little bit differently. I used to give people 8 counts. It's hard to explain if you're not familiar with dance, but I used to give people individual sets of 8 counts. They could piece them together into a routine themselves. So they were kind of allowed to make something custom that required a really complicated web design. So we transitioned away from that 3 years ago to just stock routines, just the way that you might buy a stock piece of music that you own the rights to. So
Architecture or anything like that.
Teams can go onto my website and purchase the routines. They're instructional, learn them from home. I work with a music company called Sounds Like That and Power Music Cheer, and they create all of my music. So it's entirely theirs and theirs to use and perform on the field for their schools. They're not infringing on anyone's rights by just pulling something off of YouTube. So that was the beginning of the online business. And then my in-person business has always, just grown with me as over time. I go into teams and work with their coaches on what they are needing for the season. Sometimes it's 1 routine, sometimes it's 8 routines. And we will design the look for their squad and give them the best opportunity to show up on the field that year really well. So that paired with the online business set me up for kind of a very slow stair step growth success journey. So I attribute just the patience that I had to get to this point. I give my success to that.
Patience is definitely key.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, one thing that kind of jumped out to me when you were talking was you mentioned pivoting.
Mm-hmm.
You had this, originally you had this plan where you were going to do an 8 count, you're going to mishmash them together, but it probably turned out to be a little bit too expensive. And so you pivoted, you changed your plan, not your end goal, but you changed your execution of that. So I love that point of your story, and that, you made changes when they were necessary.
Yes, I think that is really important to recognize whenever you have improvements to make. Not to say that you were wrong, because I think that each step is important to get you where you are now. And so I don't know if I would do it any differently, but I certainly wouldn't have waited any longer to pivot, because that change really took me to a different place in my business. It was something that I was asking coaches. And I think that's another thing that's important for your listeners is survey your audience, survey your potential customers, and ask them what they need. Because if you aren't filling a need, then you you really kind of are out in space flailing around trying to figure out what your path is going to be. So that's a great way. If you are thinking that you might need to pivot, just ask your audience what they need.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the market need is more important, really. I mean, your passion is definitely important because it's what drives you individually, but when it comes to a business, your market need is utmost important. So you really do. I mean, I love that you asked the people that were actually going to be buying your product. You asked them, what do you guys want?
Right.
I'm sorry, we're having technical issues on my side. There we go. All right, we're back in business. Awesome. So moving forward, you've had a lot of success so far. It has contributed to. I mean, you attribute it to certain things that you do day in and day out. So if you could go back to the Mary who started, however many years ago, and give her one piece of advice moving forward, what would that piece of advice be?
Oh gosh, I think that being organized and making sure you have a plan for each day is so important. I wish I would have gotten on top of that earlier. I have a business coach, like most, like a lot of business owners do. And his advice to me was always to recognize your most important 3 tasks of the day in the afternoon before. So today, this afternoon, I will, outline what my most important tasks for tomorrow are. And the goal is to get them done before 10 a.m. So if you're not as early of a person or as much of a morning person, it can be a little bit later in the day. But that consistency of making sure you're getting those things done, I wish that I would have started that earlier. It sounds so simple, but it makes the biggest difference. And I would have told myself also to keep thinking outside the box, because that is what allowed me to pivot. Originally, whenever I told my parents about this business idea, my dad's biggest question to me was, how can you make a living off of something that requires you to be there in person? And
wise dad.
Yeah, exactly. Very. And he said, so think about that. And that's whenever the idea to take it online began. In the beginning, people said, we can't, there's no way that choreography can really translate online. I had a lot of people saying, I just don't think it's going to happen. And I kind of pushed forward and said, I'm going to take a chance on it because I feel like it will. And here we are in 2020, and all we've been able to do is learn online. So it has provided this just really kind of like almost comical journey for me, but I'm really happy it has done a lot of the education for me. This year has done a lot of customer education for me. So yeah, I would say make sure you stay organized and keep on your plan from day to day, and don't be afraid to think outside the box.
I love it. I love it. And on that same subject, I usually ask two pieces of advice. That one is related to your business. How about just living life in general? What pieces of advice would you give for people to get the most fulfillment out of life?
Right. I think that happiness is a choice. I have said this. I wrote it down on a Post-it note when I was 18 years old. It's impossible to find happiness because happiness is a choice. Choose to be happy. And I put it on my dashboard so that I could see it every single day in my car. And that kind of life motto has carried me through everything, through not only business, but, marriage. I have an amazing husband and a little baby, and, choosing to find the joy every single day. It's the little things. Put on music. Don't be afraid to dance in the kitchen. Like, make breakfast fun. Just the smallest little things. And it sounds cheesy, but that makes a really big difference in life. So choose to be happy. And then, I consider myself a realistic optimist. So, don't be afraid whenever things happen, because life's not perfect. And if you can accept that fact, it'll be a lot easier for you to move on whenever, a wrench is thrown in your way. So realistic optimism.
I love both of those, actually. Happiness is a choice and realistic optimism. The happiness is a choice thing reminds me of my grandparents, because, they grew up in much worse times than us, and you can tell in their attitude today that they just decided, we're going to be happy. I don't care what's going on around me, but it's going to be a good day.
Exactly. It gives you like a sort of armor. It really does.
Yeah.
That's a tougher generation than some nowadays, but we can carry it on.
Absolutely. I love it. Awesome. So we are at the end of the episode here, but I really appreciate you jumping on the show. If somebody did want to get in contact with you, what would be the best way for them to do that?
I am really active on my personal Instagram at Mary Krow, and at Perfect 8 Counts is my business Instagram, and perfect8counts.com is my online website that provides stock routines for Pama dance teams of pretty much all age. So you can find me all those places.
All right. And that's Mary Krow, spelled MaryDillkrow. If you want to check her out on Instagram, I will also put her LinkedIn profile in the show notes. So if you want to click through there, go ahead and grab a chat with Mary. Awesome. Again, Mary, thank you very much for showing up. I appreciated it. I'm sure everybody listening and watching did as well.
I hope so.
For everybody who's here along with us on this journey today, thank you guys for showing up. Again, the best way to support the show is just to subscribe, like, and share with your friends and family. Other than that, I look forward to seeing you guys on the next episode.
Awesome.
Thank you guys for sticking with us on another episode of the Pursuing Greatness podcast. I hope you got a lot of value out of that guest. Again, the best way to support the show is just to subscribe, like, and share with your friends and family. Also, check out pursuinggreatnesspodcast.com if you want to get more information about what we do and what we offer. I hope you guys have a great day and keep living in integrity with yourselves. And I look forward to seeing you on the next episode coming shortly.